I did bring a book. My mom gave me this weekend. It's a favorite Sierra Leone recipes, which I didn't even know existed.
I'm Dalia Colón, and this is The Zest. Citrus, seafood, Spanish flavor, and Southern charm. The Zest celebrates cuisine and community in the Sunshine State. Today, she's a podcast host, child of immigrants, and a self-described picky eater. We are getting to know Arts Axis Florida's Malaika Hollist. As brand manager of WUSF's Arts Axis Florida, Malaika Hollist creates content to promote local artists and arts organizations. Maybe you listen to the Arts Axis Florida podcast, or you've watched the Happy Medium video podcast. That's Malaika. And while she doesn't call herself a foodie, she does recognize commonalities between what she does at Arts Axis and what we do here at The Zest. So our colleague Alexandria Ebron and I invited Malaika to join us in the studio. In this conversation, Malaika shares her favorite ways to combine food with the arts, discusses what she ate growing up as the child of parents from Sierra Leone, and reflects on the importance of sharing her culture with pride.
My name is Malaika Hollist. I'm the brand manager for Arts Axis Florida. And Arts Axis Florida is basically a site where we work with art nonprofit organizations and local artists, and we try to promote and market their work and also kind of create content around the arts as well.
Yes, so you're a podcast host as well.
And I also host a podcast for Arts Axis Florida, which is the Arts Axis Florida podcast, and the second one being Happy Medium. So yes, I do that as well.
Way to get that plug in there. Okay,
Period.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I feel like I work adjacent to you, but I don't get to work with you. And a lot of people who listen to this podcast may not be familiar with you. So just give us the Malaika biopic. Where'd you grow up? How'd you become involved in the arts? All that stuff.
So I'm from Tampa. I was born here. Grew up in the Carrollwood area, mostly Northdale. And I was always kind of in the arts. My parents put me and my sister, my older sister, in dance when we were younger. I think I started when I was 3 or 4. So I grew up dancing. I did a lot of all the dance classes you could take. I took them. I eventually did competitive dance for probably 8 or 10 years. Did a little bit of musical theater, did some acting classes once I got into college. Just kind of been involved in every little piece of art. I even did interior design for a while. I worked at a staging company, so I was able to learn a lot there. And then when I was looking for a new job, I saw the job here, and it had to do with the arts, and it had to do with podcasting. It had to do with working with community, which I'd also gotten my degree from the University of Florida in Family, Youth, and Community Sciences. So it all kind of just fell together, and I ended up here.
I'm so glad you did. Okay, you mentioned that your parents put you and your sister in a lot of dance classes. Mm-hmm. I want to hear more about your parents. Tell me about your family. Where are they from? Okay. And since this is a food podcast, what are some foods that remind you of your childhood?
Okay, so my parents are from Sierra Leone, specifically Freetown, Sierra Leone, which is in West Africa. They both grew up there. They were actually neighbors, and they also both grew up in England. So it's they both lived in England at certain times. They both lived in Freetown at certain times, but they lived there at different times.
How'd they meet?
So my mom was born in England, and my dad was born in Sierra Leone. And I believe when my mom's family moved to Sierra Leone, my dad's family was in England, but when he moved back, they ended up moving into houses that were in the same neighborhood, right next to each other. And then my mom was friends with his younger sister, and then they eventually started dating when they got a little bit older.
Aw, yeah. I love that.
It's actually really cute and just ridiculous because that does not happen.
It sounds like a meet cute. It sounds like a rom-com that I would watch on Netflix. Oh, yeah. And that other voice that you're hearing, by the way, is our colleague Alexandria Ebron.
Hey guys. Yeah.
Okay, so What is the adjective? I'm so ignorant. I'm showing my ignorance right now. But like, okay, so if you're from England, you're English. If you're from Sierra Leone, what are you?
They say they're Sierra Leonean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So growing up in a Sierra Leonean American household, because you were born here, correct?
Yes.
What was that like? And I know that's like asking a fish, what's water like? But, you know, what kind of things did you pack in your lunch? Were you ever self-conscious about having friends over? Were your parents walking around in like traditional West African clothing? Like, paint a picture for me.
That's a really good question. I think when it came to like my lunch or what I had for school, it was the typical, I think, like American lunch. Our food was really more like focused on their culture. I would say more for like dinner. The type of food that they eat is, I don't know, I see it as more as dinner food. I'm sure it's not there. I'm sure they ate it for lunch as well, but we ate it more for dinner. I did like, if anyone came over, they would be in like, it just depended, but I feel like they would just be in a t-shirt and shorts, but they also could be in like, you know, like a, I forget what they call the dress right now, but like kind of a longer, like, you know, printed dress, which I think when I was younger, I'd sometimes be like, well, that's not what my other friends' parents are wearing. But I definitely did feel a little bit like self-conscious about it at times because it was different. But as I got older, I kind of didn't care. But food-wise, it was kind of Americanized for breakfast and lunch, and then more like Sierra Leonean for dinner.
Okay, so talk me through 10-year-old Malaika's breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay, so hard to remember, but I'm guessing my mom would make me some form of eggs, maybe cereal, a lot of cereal. And then for lunch, if I had a packed lunch, it would probably be a sandwich, you know, an apple, some kind of chips, or I got school lunch, which was whatever it was for the day. And then for dinner, it's always like some kind of stew soup is what they call it, which is basically rice and chicken, but the soup changes. It's like my mom describes it as like, I think American food is more based around the protein. So it's like, okay, are you having chicken? Are you having steak? Are you having shrimp? Whereas like Sierra Leonean food is based around rice. So rice is kind of like the protein, you could say. There's always rice.
Rice is like the star.
There's always rice, and then the stew changes. And then the stew is chicken usually, but what's put in the stew changes. So it could be more of a spinach-based stew, or it could be more of a pepper-based stew, or it could be more of like there's a stew called groundnut soup or ground nut soup, which kind of has that nutty taste and sort of used to remind me of peanut butter when I was a kid, but I don't like peanut butter, so it wasn't my favorite, but it's a staple. People love that. But yeah, there's different soups.
Were there ever ingredients that your parents had to go to a special store to find? Because we're in Tampa, I can think of like Indian, Asian, Middle Eastern, Latin supermarkets. But as far as West African ingredients, where were they getting those?
Okay, so like one thing is cassava. Cassava is a kind of leaf that grows like on a tree. I don't know that they are native here to Florida, so they might have gone. There are a couple like African stores in Tampa that specifically sell African food that is either shipped in or someone grows like in the area. So they would go there for some of those things. You know, if they wanted Gary. I don't know how to describe Gary, but it's also made with cassava. So they would go to those stores, but they could also get most of it, like, I think, at your local Publix.
Okay, so it was more how they were preparing it.
Yeah, if they wanted something really specific, maybe like the seasoning, that might not be at Publix in the specific mix that they might want.
Gotcha. How do you spell Gary?
Gari.
Okay. So that was what you would eat growing up, and maybe, I don't know, what you still eat today when your family gets together?
Yeah, if we get together and it's a holiday, like they'll make different soups, but they'll also have other options as well. But that's always there. It's a staple. If I go to my parents' house, like if I left here today and I went over to my parents' house and I just ended up staying for dinner, like there would be some kind of soup there.
Soup is always happening.
Always.
Always
every day.
Be souping.
Rice cookers on every day.
I love that. There's still a lot of rice in your life, sounds like.
Yeah, there's some, I still love rice. Even though we ate tons of rice, I still love rice, but I don't eat it all the time. I don't eat it every day like it was part of my diet every day growing up.
Did your parents buy the huge bag?
Yes.
The bag that you see in the store and go,
50-pound bags.
Who would buy that?
That's us.
Malaika's parents.
Yes. And it's like, it's so ingrained. Now that you said it, I've just had a memory. It's so ingrained in my childhood to kind of like come home, go under the cupboard, open the bag of rice, do 2 cups, put it in the rice cooker with the water, and just get that started because we were going to have rice.
Aw.
Yeah.
Okay, you're in the arts. We're in food. I do feel like there's a lot of crossover. Why do you think the arts and food go together so well?
I think the arts and food go together because they kind of center around people coming together. You know, food is a community thing. Like people use food to like get together with their friends, you know, even if you're just staying at home watching a game or you like go out to brunch, like there's some kind of food involved, no matter if it's just like a bag of chips or like a 5-course meal. And with the arts, I feel like the arts are usually enjoyed in community as well. You know, if you're going to like a museum or, you know, if you're going to watch a movie or you're going to like a market, most people tend to go with someone. Or if you're going to see a show, like maybe you're only coming with one other person, but you're in a theater with hundreds of people. So I feel like arts and food are community-based events and they're not typically done alone. And even if they are done by yourself, you are surrounded by other people.
That's such a great point. Like, even if you're listening to music at home in your bedroom, you're sort of experiencing the same vibe or wavelength as the musician when that song was recorded. Or if you're watching a play at the Straz Center, you're all experiencing the same thing at the same time.
Yeah. And in, like you said, with music too, even if you're listening to a song at home, like you're not the only person typically who knows this song. So you could hear this song 2 years later and in another place and other people will know it. So it's kind of always wrapped in community.
That's so true. You go to a concert and everybody's singing
Everyone
the
knows
lyrics.
it.
I love that. And I also think the arts and music are both forms of cultural expression. Like you mentioned, your parents with the rice. You could give 5 cups of rice to 5 different people and they would present 5 different dishes. One could be Indian, one could be Latin, one could be Sierra Leonean. So I just love that. Now, I know you said you're not a big foodie, but is there a food that inspires you or comforts you when you're in that creative space?
I want to say something sweet. I just love sugary, fruity types of things. So I feel like, you know, whether it's a fruit, like sometimes I just want a banana to start the day, something like that. Or even like, you know, if it's like the end of the day and I'm like tired or I'm a little anxious, maybe I'll have like strawberries and I love to like dip them in chocolate and then put them in the freezer and let them get a little bit cold just for like a few minutes and then eat them. It is so good, you guys. Everyone should do that. And if you want to make it like healthy, you can do dark chocolate. I like milk because I just prefer.
So you're just doing this at home on like a Tuesday?
Oh, I did it last night.
I love that.
Just five. Try to keep it not too many. Dip them in the chocolate, put it in the freezer, wait 5 minutes, go get it, eat it.
I love that you do that. Okay. Several years ago on the podcast, we had Jenny P. from Lunchbox Mafia, which is a great Instagram follow, by the way. She makes these beautiful lunches for her daughter. But she also told me, do it for yourself. So chocolate-covered strawberries sound so indulgent, and they sound like something you would only do on a special occasion with company. But you're like, no, I do it for myself.
Yeah, do it all the time.
Yeah.
I just love, I just think, why not? It's nice, it's easy, and I end up eating strawberries, which I normally wouldn't necessarily eat on their own because I don't love that texture, but when it has the chocolate cover, chocolate makes everything better.
It really does.
It really does.
It's my motto in life. I want to know about some of your favorite local spots. So if you were going to go out for a day, we're all in Tampa Bay, what would be like a fun friend date or significant other date? Maybe an activity and a restaurant?
Okay. The first restaurant that's coming to mind that's in Tampa is Roca.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Bryce.
While I went
Yes.
about
Bryce, friend of the
I don't
pod.
think it's been open too long. Maybe it's been open a couple years. But when it was maybe in that first year it was open, I went there and it was so delicious. So that's like somewhere I would like to go back to soon.
Their burnt cheesecake is so good.
Is it? I haven't had that. There's also a restaurant I love. It's not quite in the Tampa area. I think it's more like maybe Safety Harbor. It's called the Black Pearl. I don't know if you've been there, but it's a very small restaurant. They like it's kind of 3-course meal. Like the menu's very specific. It is so delicious. I think I went there with my boyfriend for like our 1-year anniversary a while ago, and it was so good. So that's where I would recommend. And then for an activity, I love a stroll. So anywhere I can kind of do a little walk and be outside, maybe the sunset, that's something I would want to do. Or like an actual, I don't know if this would work with the food and activity, but I also like an activity such as like a canoe or like let's hike or like let's go play a little pickleball. Like let's burn off some energy. I love doing stuff like that.
You can bring snacks with you on your
You
hiking
can.
trip.
Yeah.
Or maybe like Lettuce Lake Park in Tampa.
Yeah.
Because they've got
With the
those.
canoe.
You can go
the
kayaking,
river.
canoeing, go up to the observation deck and
Yeah.
look for alligators.
Those are more like activity than dinner.
Yeah.
And then dinner walk is like the opposite. But yeah, that's what I would want to do.
I like that.
Yeah.
Alex, what about you? You've eaten at so many restaurants. How do you even choose?
I don't know. How do I choose? Not necessarily for dinner, but I'm going to say for a snack. Ice cream, Chill Bros, or Jenny's. There's several in the area. So actually, you can go there after dinner for a little dessert. Boom, there you go. Great ice cream, especially Chill Bros. And they change it every so often to where, like, it's always fresh and new. An activity, I mean, like Malaika said, a little stroll. You know, you can stroll down 7th Avenue and just people watch.
In Ybor City.
In Ybor City, yes. Or, you know, if you want to get active, you can always walk down Riverwalk because there's so many people there all the time riding their bikes. My friend Lucy and I, we walk down the Riverwalk every Tuesday. So we did it yesterday. And there's always a run club that's happening. There's kids out there, people with their dogs, and, you know, real casual. Or if you don't want to walk, there's always the little Lime bikes. You can just ride your bike around downtown or
The trolley.
Or the trolley.
I love
yes.
riding the trolley.
Yeah. I haven't ridden the trolley yet.
Trolley's free.
I know.
Yeah, it's free. You
Tico
must.
streetcar.
Yeah.
Oh, and do you know, one weekend a month, there's live music on the trolley.
Oh, I
Really?
did not
That's
know
really
that.
fun.
I did not know
Like
that.
a live band will be
Yeah.
on the trolley.
Oh, that's
You don't
so
even have
cool.
to go anywhere. You can just ride it
cool.
around. My
I
kids
wish
like
I wish
that
it was
too.
longer. I love riding the trolley. Love it.
That's a good
Ooh,
one.
I have another one for dinner. A nice little happy hour dinner because there's little perks, half off appetizers, buy one, get one free drink. So
I love
and
that.
it's cheaper. There you
Ooh,
go.
I love
And
that.
It's always cheaper.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it in Tampa also, and I'm gonna go to a show at the Straz Center. My husband and I love live theater. That's like
Yeah.
one of our favorite things. And we actually met at the Straz Center at a networking breakfast years and years ago.
Oh, that's
now
so
been
cool.
married for 17 years. So I would do a show at the Straz, and then I think I might swing by Black English Bookstore.
Okay, yeah.
Love them. Gwendolyn Henderson is the owner, and it's just colorful and cozy, and everybody in there just makes you feel so welcome. So I would do Straz Center, Black English Bookstore, then maybe head to Armature Works and do a sit-down dinner at Oak and Ola.
Ooh, love Oak and Ola.
Because
so good.
you get the sit-down dinner experience, and we've had Chef Ann Kearney on the podcast several years ago. But then, like you said, if you want the people watching, you just go outside. The Hillsborough River's right there. You could go up to M Bar on the roof and do some more people watching.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is fun.
Yeah.
I want to do these things.
Yeah.
And these things are doable.
We can do these things.
Yes, as Jenny P would say, do it for yourself. I love this. Okay, Malaika, this is, I kind of feel like I'm at a dinner party with you.
Yeah.
But without the food. Okay, I want to know, I've been thinking about this. We're 3 Black women sitting here on the microphone. And I didn't say I was going to ask you this. I just thought about it this morning when I was in the shower. But I was like, you know, this is pretty incredible. 3 women of color on the microphone with a public platform. So have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome, or do you feel a certain responsibility because you have this platform? And I'm going to give you time to think about your answer by telling you something that you told I think you said it on the podcast years ago, but I felt like you were telling it directly to me because it stuck with me so much. You said that when you walk into a room and say it's a bunch of like straight white guys or, you know, just people that are in the majority, instead of telling yourself, oh, I don't belong here, you look at it and say, wow, there's nobody here like me. I belong here. And I love that. I have repeated that so many times to so many people. So thank you for saying that. And even in downtown Tampa, yes, absolutely. And in downtown Tampa, there's even like a public art display that I think lights up at night at Sparkman Wharf. And it says, you belong here.
Yes.
And I always think of you when I see that. Oh. So I don't want to answer the question for you, but how do you think about yourself in this podcasting space?
I definitely, well, thank you, first off. I kind of, now that you said it, I'm kind of remembering saying that. And I do feel that way. I definitely have imposter syndrome at times. Some periods of life, I think you can feel it more than others, depending on what's going on. When it comes to the podcast space, I've never really, this is one place I guess I definitely don't feel it. I hadn't ever thought about it.
I don't want to give you imposter syndrome.
Yeah, like I never really thought about it. I guess because podcasting, because it's audio based, you know, it's a voice and either you feel like that voice is something you want to listen to or not. But I do feel a responsibility to an extent, whether it comes to work or things I do outside of work, to always like put people who look like me in mind, because I think other people might not be putting us at the forefront. So I do try to do it. It is hard because I don't think it's easy to do. And I think my background has been such a mix that I think about everyone and not just like Black people or people of color, but I do try. As I get older, I find myself thinking with more clarity, like, what am I doing and what can I do to help lift up other Black people, especially other Black women? Because I think that we need that. We need people who root for us and put us at the top of mind, because I don't think we get that enough.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Wow. Alex, you look like you want to say something.
I think sometimes I do have imposter syndrome, but then I have to remember, like, girl, you went to school for this. This is what you wanted to do, and you're just as qualified as these other people, maybe even more. But you deserve to be here just as much as they are.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to content, you get in your head a lot. And for me, I look at people with larger followings than I do, and I do get in my head a lot about it. But I have to remember, like, that I've gotten plenty of opportunities based off of my content. So people like my things. I've had people tell me that they like my things, like my videos. They get excited whenever I post a new one. So yeah, little tiny things from other people will let you know that you're doing great work and to stop stressing so much.
Yeah. Good. And we're all so unique. Like, and to bring it back even to the arts and food as well, like in a way, like everything's individual. Mm-hmm. Like, and we are all individuals. So like whatever you like to do, whether it's like clothes or food or arts, like you have a unique voice to it. And that's the constant reminder I have to tell myself, like, what you have to say is special too. And like being like, I'm a Black woman. I grew up in a kind of African household, but in America. So sometimes I like, it was I felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere. I felt very mixed, even though I'm not mixed at all, technically. But I kind of learned, as I said to you at that time, like, it does make you stand out because you are sometimes the only person of color in the room. And so I try to remind myself that that's something I need to use to my advantage and kind of forget all the noise that people were telling you that we've all heard in society growing up about like, oh, we got there for this reason or, oh, we got there for that reason. It's kind of dark, but like at the time I didn't think much of it. But I remember somebody signed my yearbook saying something about like, I got into UF because I was Black, not because
they signed your yearbook. Oh,
yeah. And this person was my friend at the time, but it was like, it was written like as a joke, like, oh, you got into UF because you're Black. Like it's literally highlighted
Rip
in my
that page
yearbook.
out.
That is crazy.
And it's funny, at the time I was like, probably like, haha, like, you know, I was
You're
6,
18,
17.
you're not thinking of it.
And, you know, last time I opened that yearbook, I don't remember when I saw it and I thought, wow, like, look at the times and what people were just like saying that were just like okay to say.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I probably internalized that in some way. And now I kind of look back and like, no, I got in because I was good at school and I did a lot of extracurriculars and I was smart and I actually remember my essay. It was really great.
Brilliant.
And like I had a lot of reasons why I should go to that school and this other person didn't get in. And that's just
and they
that.
were hating, so they wrote that.
Right.
Wow.
So that's why I say, like, there's a lot of noise that we've heard. And so we have to just kind of like try to silence it as much as possible and focus on the things like our own specific gifts and creativity that we can bring into our work, into the arts, into different food we make, all of it.
Beautiful.
Thank
Beautifully
you.
said.
Wow.
I could talk to you. It's almost like you do this for a living.
I felt like my dad just my dad's kind of a talker. Like
Oh, I
professor,
love that.
writer.
Okay,
So
well,
I'm like, Dad, I feel like I sounded like you.
Oh, he'll be so proud. Okay, speaking of your dad, is there a recipe from your Sierra Leonean heritage that you would like to share?
Yes, I can share my favorite. This is a dessert. It's called rice bread.
We'll put the recipe on the website, but like,
Yes.
can you just tell us a little bit about rice
Well,
bread?
let me tell you about it. So rice bread is basically banana bread. It's like, imagine American banana bread, but it's not really like as bready as banana bread. It's more moist, even though I hate that word.
I do hate that word.
I know, I hated saying it, but that's the best way to describe it. It's basically you just get a bunch of bananas, you peel them, you blend them, you add rice flour, sugar, a little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of salt. You bake it, basically. It is my favorite thing. Like when I was a kid, I wasn't really a big fan of birthday cake. I still don't like cake. So I would have them for a couple birthday parties, but eventually my mom started making me rice bread cakes because I love it. And it's just so delicious. It's like kind of like a dessert. We have them at all our parties. And I love I love when my mom specifically makes it. Like other people make it. And even though it's a pretty simple recipe, I'm like, if it's not my mom's, it's just not. It's not hitting. It's not as good. And everybody agrees. Yeah, it is so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing the recipe.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing about yourself. I mean, I learned so much about you. I've known you for years, but this was a lot of fun. And where can people find Arts Access?
You can find Arts Access at artsaccessflorida.org, and that's Access with an X, AXIS. You can also find us on Instagram, Arts Access FL, and Facebook, Arts Access Florida. And yeah,
This was great. Thank you.
Yay, that was
delightful.
fun.
That was our colleague Malaika Hollist of Arts Access Florida. Are you following Arts Access in your podcast feed and on YouTube? Because if not, you definitely want to smash that subscribe button right now. We also heard from the Zest's brand manager, Alexandria Ebron. Now, Malaika shared her family recipes for rice bread and groundnut stew. Malaika, did I say that right? Kinda, sorta? The recipes are on our website, thezestpodcast.com. I'm Dalia Colón. Alex and I produced this podcast with Andrew Lucas. The Zest is a production of WUSF, copyright 2025, part of the NPR network.